Okay, if you'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand. And then I just want to ask each of you, if you could just quickly just tell us, what do you eat for lunch and dinner each day? And for Robert and Derek, if you could tell us, what do you eat for lunch each day when you are in your most intense training time? So if each of you could tell us your general lunch and dinner that you would eat, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll start with talking about my burrito bowl. So I love a burrito bowl typically for lunch. Why? Because it's you can mix and match so creatively. So you can have different types of rice or quinoa, different types of beans, avocado, lettuce, tomato, salsa, mushrooms, peppers, you name it. You can mix and match flavors, different types of completely different themes. So I do something like a burrito bowl for lunch, and I have fruit as snacks, before and after lunch as it fits in and help, not too close or too closely after for digestion purposes. But that's the reality. I eat those kind of things. And for dinner, I really like I like a lot of international cuisine, like fried rice, vegetable fried rice, or pad thai or something like that, where I do have some oil in those types of dishes. Or, I'm very lucky. My wife makes most of our meals at home and limits oil and those types of things, and does focus on a bit of a whole food approach for that. But basically, the idea is to get, those are my largest meals of the day, the largest calorie consumption and the most diversity of nutrition during those times. And I also work out in the evenings. As I mentioned, I'm going to go to the gym after a dog walk and after this call. And that's where I'm going to have a bigger portion. I'm not doing supplements. I'm not doing shakes. I'm not doing all this extra stuff. I'm simply eating a larger portion of whatever is for dinner. And tonight, I don't know exactly what it's going to be. That's to be determined, but probably some sort of vegetable or pasta or tofu dish. Those are common in our household.
Great, thank you.
I'll jump in. So, as I mentioned, with kind of automating your meals to reduce decision fatigue, Marcella, my wife, and I have eaten the same lunch year in and year out for a long time now. And lately we've been changing a little bit. Part of it was having our third child. It's been a lot to juggle. But what our standard lunch forever was a great big green salad, usually like a whole head of romaine per person, spinach mixed in, things like that sometimes. And then some kind of pan-seared tofu. I like it blackened with nutritional yeast and some kind of seasoning mix. And then all kinds of vegetables on top, tomatoes, cucumbers, onions, things like that. On the side, it varies. In the past, when I was really trying to bulk up on a very high calorie diet, I would have potatoes, sweet potatoes, lentil soup, avocado, things like that on the side of this big salad with this half block of tofu on top. Dressing, by the way, on the salad is usually just balsamic vinegar. I know vinegar has a ton of health benefits, and I love sour, tangy flavors, so I can just drench my salad in vinegar and I'm happy as can be. Marcella's less enthusiastic about it, but she does have it. It's not quite as much portion as I do. And then dinner, like Robert said, very much an international cuisine. We love Thai food. We love sushi. We love Ethiopian food. It's delicious. At home, we have, pasta. We sometimes will lean on that bonza or similar bean-based pastas, which are great. As well as like Chipotle bowls with lots of rice, beans, tofu, shredded lettuce, guacamole, salsa, things like that. Been trying more recently to shift calories earlier in the day. I've seen a lot of things that breakfast really is the most important meal, and nutrient timing can have an impact on your wellness and things. And I do notice that if I don't have a really big dinner, I tend to feel better, sleep better. And we're also trying to eat earlier, kind of like Julieanna Hever mentioned with the time restricted eating. Just trying to get more calories earlier in the day. So my lunches have been lighter. I've kind of been omitting the sides on the lunches, just going for the salad, and doing more riced cauliflower, which you can find everywhere now. And I actually love it, especially if you mix it with brown rice, you get twice as much rice and it's vegetables. So that's being more of a feature in our lunches and dinners as well, just trying to make those calories lighter. Problem was my breakfast was already huge, and so now it's even bigger and it's getting a little onerous. But that's another problem. So hopefully that answers that question.
Thanks.
And my mouth is watering, you guys. That all sounds so good. We all like the same foods. I like to eat at 11 o'clock every day. Like that's my first meal. I've been doing time restricted eating for almost a decade, and it's just improved my health, improved my digestion. I feel so much better when I do that. So I have a big meal at 11. Then I try to not have a dinner, but I'm very social and I'm always going out and doing things. So I do tend to have a second meal, but I always do it earlier in the day or it disrupts my sleep. But my big, huge meal in the middle of the day, also a huge bowl. And I like to just throw things all in a huge bowl. I have a huge salad, but I also am a creature of habit. And I have published hundreds of recipes. And every time I have to go back to the kitchen to draw up new recipes, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to eat my regular food. So I always do like different versions of what I've already created that I love. Like I love the cauliflower rice. I eat that almost every day. I have this one recipe on my website, the cream and mushroom cauliflower rice. That's been my favorite recipe for years, and an herbed potato Dijon salad that I'm obsessed with. But it's always a salad, and I always make a nut or seed based dressing, a really quick 5-minute, just throw it in my little mini blender, and I drink half of it one day and then half the next day. So I get my nuts and seeds. I'm getting my 6 daily threes, and I get very full with a good amount of healthy food, and it lasts the whole day.
Okay, great, thank you. Priscilla, would you like to ask a question, and where are you from?
Hello, I'm from Indio, California. I want to ask Julianne if she could go over the 6 groups again.
Certainly. Hello, I'm in California too. If you go to my website, plantbaseddietitian.com, and plug in 6 daily threes, it's all there in real good detail. So I would recommend plantbaseddietitian.com, 6 daily threes. But briefly, these are the most important foods to prioritize in your diet. Number 1, leafy green and cruciferous vegetables. So you want to have at least, one serving is 1 cup raw or half a cup cooked, which we're all getting at our lunch, right? All of those servings. And the other category is the other colored veggies, the reds, the oranges, the yellows, the whites, all of those other wonderful colors, because they provide different benefits as well. And that's 3 servings, half a cup raw cooked or a cup raw. And then the third group is fruits. And then the fourth group is 1 to 2 ounces of nuts and seeds a day total, not 3 times a day. So that's like about 3/4 of a tablespoon. You'll see it all broken down on that document. And then legumes. So beans, lentils, peas, hummus, soy foods, and it's about 1 to 1.5 servings a day. This depends on your size. Like my nutritional needs are not the same as my 6-foot tall lineman playing football son of mine. We have very vast differences. So you want to just use this as a core. And then the last group that I've now added is the mushrooms. It used to be physical activity, but I just realized that mushrooms can't be thrown into the vegetable category because they really aren't vegetables and they have so much to offer the world. So they have their own special, unique category there as well.
Thank you.
There was a study in the EPIC Oxford study that said vegans had greater levels of bone fractures. Do you have any comments on this? And would this be solved by resistance training and weightlifting?
I have a really in-depth answer, but I just talked.
Go ahead, because I don't have a good answer aside from just increasing bone density and strength from resistance training and stress.
Yes, when this study came out, it was very alarming for a lot of us. And so we looked at it very, very carefully. And me and my colleagues that you all know and love. But we came up, we were looking at, if you really want to think about bone health, weightlifting, resistance training, weight bearing exercise is the most important thing. But why is it more prevalent when they solved for exercise in vegans? Well, the things we mentioned for bone health, most importantly, make sure your D levels, your serum vitamin D levels are optimal. Get them tested. You won't know, you won't feel a deficiency, and you want to make sure they're optimal, sufficient. And so when your vitamin D levels are optimal, you're able to absorb the calcium that's coming in. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how much calcium you're taking in, you can lose it. It won't be absorbed into your body, so it's meaningless. So make sure your vitamin D levels are normal. Make sure you're getting your vitamin B12. It is so important. Also on my website, I have an article on B12 because the dosing is a little bit unique for B12 because it's the most finicky vitamin with an attitude problem, the way it's absorption and the absorption curve and all that's really particular. So I would recommend you go check that out as well. But make sure you're getting your B12 from a supplement. You're not going to get it from plant foods. You're going to run out, even if it looks like it's normal levels at first. So I wrote a lot about this in all of my stuff you'll see. And then calcium, you do want to make sure you're getting calcium. So, incorporate some of those plant milks, the leafy green vegetables, almonds. Remember that kale is better absorbed. The calcium from kale is better absorbed than dairy. So make sure you're getting some kale and some broccoli, unhulled sesame seeds like tahini, calcium set tofu, oranges, dried figs, fortified plant milks or blackstrap molasses. Those are good sources of calcium, but just make sure you're consuming it. And then you want to get your protein. Of course, we always talk about protein, not a problem. But if you're getting it, you're getting those 3 servings of legumes and the nuts and seeds, you're eating things like quinoa and lots of leafy green vegetables, you will get ample protein, but you do need to be mindful of it, of course. But if you're eating a whole food plant-based diet, it's very hard not to be getting enough. And then the other thing I would say about that is we want to be careful with calcium supplements because calcium supplements may increase risk for cardiovascular problems. So that's another thing. So you want to get it from your food. And I actually made a recipe. When that study came out, I made a strong bone stir fry recipe and it has all of those ingredients into it. So for all those different reasons, but you could definitely have to be mindful of that. It is a concern for a vegan diet.
Juliana, would you say instead of you are what you eat, you are what you absorb? Is that like, and hopefully this is helpful for people. Should people go get blood work done or go see a registered dietitian? Because there's a lot of us, for a long time, myself included, I've been vegan for all these decades. I don't need to get checked. And then, you get checked and you realize, oh yeah, there are some things that are off here. Even in those of us who have followed a plant-based diet and an active lifestyle. So you are what you absorb. And what do you recommend for, blood work done, immediately work with a registered dietitian? Like what's the protocol?
That's a great question. And a lot of things can be silent. So it's really important. I've had vegan friends that are young and healthy and athletic that have had certain very serious health conditions that have passed away, unfortunately. I've lost friends. It's crazy. So it is important to be aware and get data. Definitely check your labs every year. Look at your lipids, look at your thyroid, look at your vitamin B12, but you really want to look at methylmalonic acid for a more accurate assessment of your B12 status rather than the B12 itself. You could check your omega-3s. That is a really big thing. It's just growing and growing and it's a concern. So be aware of your omega-3s. I definitely recommend supplementing with the omega-3 microalgae formula. I would look at thyroid, liver, kidney, all of the general guidelines that your physician would do, your blood sugar, check your blood pressure, make sure you're checking your weight. Like, don't be afraid to look at this stuff because there's so much that we have power of. Diet is the number 1 cause of early death and disability in the world. So you are quite literally what you eat, and you have a lot of power by making these choices, and you can make these choices better when you are as informed as you can be.
Okay, thank you. Robert, how do we stay in touch with you for people that want more information about your books or your website? How do they stay in touch with you?
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. And again, appreciate you having me as part of this group and this lineup. I'm veganbodybuilding.com. I've been running that for over 20 years. That's where I connected with Derek and many others. So veganbodybuilding.com. And you can just also look me up, Robert Cheeke on social media. And there's my book right there, The Plant-Based Athlete. That's the New York Times bestseller. You can find that wherever books are sold. So that's how you can keep in touch with me. Just search my name online and you'll likely find me.
And Derek, how about yourself? How do we stay in touch with you and follow up with your stuff?
Yeah, you can find me on social media as well. I'm at Vegan Muscle on Instagram, Facebook.com/Vegan Muscle and Fitness on Facebook, and as well as our website, veganmuscleandfitness.com.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. And Juliana, how about yourself?
Yes, plantbaseddietitian.com. And you could find all of my social media channels there because sometimes it's my name, like on Instagram, and it's a really hard name to spell, Julie and Anna put together. But I have a lot of resources on my website, and you can contact me directly there on that contact button. It goes directly to me, and I would love to answer your questions and help you find resources if you need so.
Okay, great. Can we unmute everyone? We really want to thank you for bringing all your experience and sharing it so freely with us. You guys have
Thank you.
Thanks, ladies. Bye.